Christmas night had passed. The laughter had faded. Lights were switching off, one by one. Burkitt Avenue in Wolverhampton looked peaceful, almost too peaceful. At 3:30 in the morning, the street was silent. No traffic. No voices. No signs of danger. Until one call changed everything. A panicked voice dialed emergency services. A man was down. He wasn't moving. Police and ambulances rushed through empty roads, blue lights cutting through the darkness. When officers arrived, they found 30-year-old Trey Johnson lying on the street. Blood. A knife wound. And no signs of life. Paramedics tried. But it was already too late. Trey Johnson was pronounced dead at the scene. A Christmas night had turned into a nightmare. And this was only the beginning. Backhand index pointing right, but who did this, and why on Christmas? Before the headlines. Before the police tape. Trey Johnson was a person. A son. A friend. A familiar face in his community. Those who knew him described him as outgoing, social, and full of life. No one expected his name to appear in a murder investigation, especially on Christmas Day. Friends would later say, "He should have been home. He should still be alive." Investigators began piecing together Trey's final hours. Where had he been? Who was he with? And how did he end up on Burkitt Avenue in the middle of the night? Every detail mattered. Because somewhere in those last moments was the truth. Backhand index pointing right and police were already closing in on suspects. Burkitt Avenue became a sealed crime scene. Police cordons blocked both ends of the road. Forensic teams searched every inch. Doors stayed shut. Curtains moved slightly. Someone had seen something. Someone always does. Officers went door to door, asking questions. Was there shouting? A fight? Footsteps running away? CCTV footage from nearby streets was collected. Every camera. Every angle. Every second before and after 3:30 a.m. And slowly, a picture began to form. This was not random. This was not an accident. It was violent. And it involved more than one person. Backhand index pointing right. Soon, two names would emerge. Two suspects. One family. And a bond that would soon be tested in the harshest way possible. When police made their arrests, the detail that stunned everyone wasn't just the charges. It was this. They were brothers. Same blood. Same upbringing. Same city. Yet now, both were standing on the edge of a murder case that would follow them for the rest of their lives. Their names were released soon after. Richard Beckles, 19 years old. Barely out of his teens. Still at an age where life is supposed to be beginning. And Tego Beckles, 20 years old. Just 1 year older. But now facing consequences far beyond his age. Both from Wolverhampton. Both connected to the same deadly night. Police did not describe them as strangers who crossed paths with the victim by chance. This wasn't random violence. Investigators believed there was a direct confrontation. Something happened between these men. Something intense enough to turn Christmas morning into a crime scene. Kitchen knife. The knife factor. One detail kept appearing in the police charges. A bladed article. That single phrase changes everything. Because a knife is not accidental. It's personal. It's close range. And once it's involved, there is no going back. Police charged both brothers not only with murder, but also with wounding with intent. And threatening a person with a bladed weapon in a public place. That tells us something important. This wasn't just one sudden moment. There was escalation. There was fear. There was intent. A situation that grew darker with every second. Brain two brothers, one moment. Investigators now faced a critical question. What role did each brother play? Because when two people are charged together, especially siblings, the dynamic becomes complex. Were they acting together? Did one follow the other? Did one try to stop it, or did both take part? Police aren't releasing those answers yet. But what they did confirm is this. The brothers were both considered responsible enough to face the same courtroom. That decision alone speaks volumes. Crescent moon that night. Somewhere during the early hours of Christmas Day, a confrontation unfolded. Words may have been exchanged. Tempers may have flared. A threat may have been made. And then, a knife entered the situation. Once that happened, everything changed. Within minutes, Trey Johnson was bleeding on Burkett Avenue. And within minutes more, he was gone. What happened between those moments is now one of the most important questions in the entire case. Man-standing silence from the brothers. After their arrest, the brothers said nothing publicly. No statements. No explanations. No apologies. Just silence. That silence is now part of the story. Because in true crime, silence can mean many things. Shock. Fear. Legal advice. Or something much heavier. The truth will not come from interviews or headlines. It will come from evidence. The announcement came quietly, but its impact was explosive. West Midlands police confirmed it. Two brothers had been charged with murder. That single word changed everything. Because murder isn't confusion. It isn't a mistake. It means investigators believe there was intent, or at least responsibility for a life ending violently. Alongside murder, the charges went further. Wounding with intent. Threatening a person with a bladed article in a public place. Each charge painted a darker picture. This wasn't a sudden accident in the dark. This was a confrontation that escalated. A situation where fear was used as a weapon, before the knife ever struck. Cityscape. A city reacts. As the news spread, Wolverhampton reacted with shock. People asked the same questions again and again. How did this happen on Christmas Day? How does a celebration turn into a killing? And how are two brothers involved? Burkett Avenue was no longer just a street. It became a symbol of how quickly normal life can collapse. Residents spoke in hushed voices. Parents looked closer at their children. And a community tried to make sense of something that didn't make sense at all. Balance scale. Why these charges matter. Charging someone with murder isn't quick or easy. Police must believe they have strong evidence, clear timelines, and enough proof to take the case to trial. By charging both brothers, investigators were signaling confidence. Confidence that what happened that night wasn't just known. It was provable. Behind the scenes, files were being prepared. CCTV footage. Witness statements. Phone data. Forensic reports. Every piece tightening the case. Firecracker. The pressure builds. For the accused, life outside was already over. From this point forward, every step would be watched. Every word would matter. Every silence would be analyzed. And for Trey Johnson's family, the charges brought mixed emotions. Relief, that someone was being held responsible. And pain, because no charge can bring a life back. Hourglass. Not done. What comes next? With charges confirmed, the case moved to its next phase. Not rumors. Not speculation. Court. Where stories collide with evidence. Where truth is tested. And where futures are decided. Backhand index pointing right, and the first courtroom appearance was only days away. Friday morning. Wolverhampton Magistrates Court stood quiet from the outside. But inside, everything felt heavy. This was no longer a street investigation. No longer police tape and flashing lights. This was the moment the case entered the justice system. Richard Beckles. Tego Beckles. For the first time, the two brothers stood before a judge. No hoodies. No late-night streets. Just a courtroom, and the full weight of the law. Balance scale. The charges read aloud. As the charges were formally read, the atmosphere changed. Murder. Wounding with intent. Threatening a person with a bladed article in a public place. Each word landed hard. Murder isn't just an accusation. It's a declaration that the state believes a life was taken unlawfully. The brothers listened in silence. No reaction. No emotion visible. Only stillness. Chair. No bail, no escape. The court moved quickly. Given the seriousness of the charges, there would be no bail. The brothers were remanded in custody. That decision meant one thing. They wouldn't be going home. From this moment on, their lives would be measured in court dates, legal arguments, and locked doors. Brain. A case too serious to stay here. The magistrate's court wasn't the final stop. This case was too serious. Too complex. Too grave. The judge confirmed the next step. Wolverhampton Crown Court. A place reserved for the most serious crimes. The date was set. Monday. Just days away. Busts in silhouette. Silent observers. In the courtroom, people watched quietly. Legal teams took notes. Family members avoided eye contact. No one spoke. Because everyone understood what was coming next. A trial. Evidence laid bare. Stories challenged. Truth examined under pressure. Door led away. As the hearing ended, the brothers were led away. Not by family. Not by friends. By officers. Through a side door. And just like that, the courtroom emptied. But the case had only just begun. Backhand index pointing right, because the final chapter would be written in Crown Court, where everything would be on the line. Christmas morning had passed, but its shadows remained. Trey Johnson was gone. A life ended far too early. A street in Wolverhampton forever marked by tragedy. Flowers now lined Burkett Avenue. Candles flickered in the night. Friends and family whispered his name. Trying to make sense of something that made no sense at all. Puzzle piece. The community reacts. For neighbors, the normal rhythm of life had stopped. A place that once echoed laughter and footsteps now carried silence. Why him? How did this happen? And the question that haunted everyone. Why on Christmas? Every detail mattered. Every unanswered question became louder in the quiet streets. The community watched closely as the story moved from the streets to the courtrooms. Because justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about answers. Balance scale. The court will decide. The brothers, Richard and Tego Beckles, awaited their trial. The court would examine every moment leading up to 3:30 a.m. Every message, every witness statement, every piece of CCTV evidence would be tested. Truth would be challenged. And for the families, the stakes were immeasurable. This was no longer speculation. This was the law moving forward. Cold, procedural, and absolute. Crescent moon reflection. One man lost his life. Two young men faced their future in prison. And the city wondered how a night of celebration became a night of horror. Burkett Avenue would always remember. Trey Johnson would never be forgotten. And the silence of that street carried the weight of a life gone too soon. For the community, Christmas would never feel the same. Bell closing / call to action. As the investigation continues and the trial approaches, the questions remain. What really happened that night? Could this tragedy have been prevented? And will justice be served? If you want updates on this case and other gripping true crime stories, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because stories like this deserve to be remembered.